You're oversimplifying a very complex situation.
No, it's not really complex. There are no such thing as loyal. The concept of a loyal, highly effective, competitive alpha is a female notion.
And have to continue to compete with other pretty girls because men are too simple to stick with one.
Well, how about this? The kind of men you're talking about are simple enough to make the lights you live in, the air conditioning, all the stuff that you... Hold on, excuse me, ma'am. The simple men built the world that you use.
I built my own world. So
no, ma'am, you use the world we built. No, ma'am, you use the world men built. Name me 5 great female...
Okay, it kind of seems like both ends of this argument are just pretty dumb. That's what it's sounding like.
Female inventors, I'll give you one. Madame Curie.
I can't believe you. So you're telling me that men and...
No, ma'am, I just asked you a question and you didn't know. You go... See, you're answering questions with questions. You're talking about building. Name me 5 great female inventors or builders. Madame Curie.
5 inventors or builders? That's a really great question. That really is.
I couldn't name 5 male builders.
Well, also, I don't remember the lady's name, but there's a bunch of buildings in Miami.
Go on and do it. Go on and do it. Go. Take it. She's afraid. Go on and do it. Go on and get on in there, baby girl. You got it.
Miami was established by a woman.
Congratulations. But the Miami, the land was established by, but this country was first landed by who? Men or women?
Men.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
And see, the thing is, I've done this show about...
Now, if she wanted to, she could counter and say, what kind of men? And he'd be like, what? And she could be like, white men. And then this guy would have to radically change his approach to how he does the argumentation. How many buildings and architectures, blah, 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 been invented by black men? His response then should be, well, forms of systemic oppression have probably kept black people from being active in a lot of parts of society, and then they could respond with the same.
Survival, and you can go back to Bear Grylls Island number 2. Man, you can only be a feminist in a first world country.
There's a hierarchy of needs. You are correct. We
don't need you.
College.
And we don't need you. You need us.
Great. I don't need you either.
I know we don't need you for survival. You need us for survival.
Okay, so
what I'm trying to get you to understand, ma'am, is you have a right to your opinions.
Obviously, I don't have a right to anything.
Well, no, you have a right to believe what you want, but the thing is, you're not allowed to the outcome. You're allowed to have an opinion, just like men are allowed to have an opinion, and you don't have to compete or deal in a situation that you deem is unfair. But you can't complain about the rules that are already set. You like the rules that benefit you, getting into the club for free, but you don't like the rules that benefit men. High value men have the leverage.
Because I'm 31 years old and I'm getting a little fed up of these men kind of attacking me. I do not go to clubs anymore. So please stop with your double standard bullshit. I work in a man's world, and if anything, I've had to work 5 times as hard in this world as a man to get where I am. So
look at hold on now. Since you want to tell me you're 31 years old and had to work in a man's world, that's a privilege. Here's the thing, ma'am. You say the problems with men. The only one that's complaining about the double standard harshly is you.
Yes,
but it benefits you too.
All the benefits.
Okay, well, here's the thing, ma'am. If you don't like, okay, ma'am, you're a competent woman, correct?
Okay, so I should quit my job and never.
No, you should build Amazonia, and make it the female utopia that benefits women.
I probably should after listening.
Well, then go ahead.
Agree with you.
And then you'd have to actually build something. You'd have to put your brawn where your mouth is.
I don't understand what you're saying again.
I'm saying that you came at me with the same line. I've had to put up at 31 years old and deal with men's bullshit. You're living in a first world country. You're in Miami, one of the most posh places on the planet, complaining about double standards that you participate in.
There's a million issues in our culture and society today that people are fighting for.
Yeah, if he wants to. I don't even know who this guy is, but if he wanted to, sure. Okay, here's the real question. If there's all these incel guys in society that are sad because they're like alone and they don't have girlfriends, GFs, and all that shit, shouldn't there be even more single women? Because I'm pretty sure women outnumber men in society, at least in America. So are women just like okay with being single and lonely? I'm not talking. Hold on, real quick, stop. I'm not talking about the 20% of guys fuck 80% of the women, the fucking Chad pill shit. I'm talking about people in relationships.
Because women outnumber men, that there should be incel women as well. I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Or like women that are just like perpetually out of relationships and are just like never have a BF or anything, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about if like psychology has a part to play to why like maybe having a relationship is like more I guess desirable for men. I can't say I can speak for like everybody because I'm not a guy, and I'm also not every other girl, so I can only speak for myself. But yeah, I don't know. I know there's a lot of I know there's a lot of angry incel guys, but I think there's also angry women, but I don't think they're angry about not being in a relationship. I think they're angry about other reasons. So
Gotcha.
I'm guessing you're a feminist, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I don't know. Why do you think? Why do you think there's more incel guys?
I think it's getting harder and harder to meet people in society. I think we're replacing a lot of the institutions that we used to meet people at.
Yeah, apparently in Japan, it's really a problem. I mean, it's a problem all across the board. But...
Yeah, Japan has huge problems with work, culture, life, with incel men, with people are getting older and older before they move out and shit.
Yeah, which you know, it's sad because people are more focused on surviving than thinking about relationships and
Wait, where?
things in Japan.
Oh, I mean, I think they
Yeah.
survive pretty well. It's a first world country.
Well, you know, being a workaholic, it's pretty competitive over there.
Oh yeah, but I don't
So
think that's
maybe-
about survival. That's just like a very cancerous cultural norm that they have. It's not like
Okay.
they need to work that much to survive or whatever.
Yeah.
I think a big reason is actually housing. More people living with their parents makes it harder, increasing the supply of housing. Oh, yeah, maybe actually. Fuck, we gotta get away from the super cities, guys. How do we do it?
Do you think cities breeds mental illness, or do you think that's like a whole? I mean, I can't speak for like all of it, but
Mhm.
do you think that being in a city type environment does it have like negative effects to someone's mental well-being?
You know, I don't know. I'm really curious about that. Did you ever know a streamer called Reckful?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
He said something at one point that triggered the fuck out of a lot of people. I don't remember if I agreed with him publicly or if this was like something I didn't talk about. He said something once that triggered the fuck out of a lot of people. He said he wished he was poor, so he had like something to work for that would make his life more interesting. A feeling that I have that I don't know if I can justify this. It might be true. I think it might actually be a lot harder to be depressed if you're like a working poor person versus like a middle class person. I kind of wonder if like the complacency and the lack of stuff to do and the lack of like lots of free time with no direction, I feel like that might breed mental illness more so than anything else. Like when I was working poor, like it sucked and there was a lot of pressure and stress related to paying bills and stuff. And then a lot of that bled over into other parts of my life, but it was nothing remotely similar to like depression. There wasn't any feeling of there wasn't any, it wasn't that at all. It was like a different type of like stress or anxiety, but not like quote unquote anxiety or like general anxiety disorder or not like any type of like mental illness like that. So I don't know. I'm really curious if that's true, but it would be hard to get data on that because like poor people will probably always have less mental illness than middle class people, even if they had the same rates, because they might just be underdiagnosed because they don't have access to hospital treatment, you know? I'm super curious about that. I don't know if like having that, like, cause you wake up, you go to work, you gotta do your shit. Like you don't really, I don't know. Whereas it feels like that middle class stuff and all of that can breed, like you've got so much more time to think and dwell and feel worthless and yeah.
No, I think that totally is the case. Yeah, I went to school in a pretty affluent. I mean, this is like anecdotal evidence. So, all these kids, like their families are millionaires, and yet they would be so sad, and they said that they were lacking things in their life. And so I don't think that having like money and stability and that sort of thing is actually and it's about purpose as well. If you feel like you're working, you feel like you can like you said, you don't have time to think, and you can put all your time and energy into, and I feel like even as like humans, we're all animals still. Having that like that natural part of ourselves that is surviving, that is chasing, you know, resources, and it is very satisfying to us in a you know, in that way that,
or maybe not
you know,
satisfying, but it keeps the mind occupied is more what I'm getting at.
yeah.
That like you don't really have time to be like introspective or reflective and feel depressed like that, or at least it feels to me that way. Even when your life feels like pretty shit, like it's just if you're busy like working and sleeping and eating and surviving and then working, whatever, like it's just not something you think about too often.
Yeah, I know. I think that's the case. Is that does it matter if you have millions of dollars? You can be
okay. So
mentally.
So as somebody that has actually so much experience with this now, I'm going to switch from my humble mode to speaking with authority mode. Comparing I'm bored and sad to if I don't make enough money, I'm going to be homeless, fuck my life. When it comes to mental illness, there are dimensions of agony that are unimaginable to a person that hasn't experienced it. You just have no fucking idea. And the threat or the scare of like being homeless is just, it is an emotion that you have that you can process and get over, but it is not the all-encompassing feeling of depression or general anxiety disorder. It is destiny. It's a joke. I'm bipolar. I know how serious mental illness is. I do. Oh, well, if you're bipolar, then you just bipolar your way into being a fucking moron in chat. You weren't joking. You know that you weren't joking, but now you're walking it back because you realize you said something really fucking stupid. So as somebody that was homeless and living out of my car for a few weeks after I broke up with my fucking ex-wife, and as somebody that has like been worried about like losing his house or having his phone shut off or having his utilities shut off and all of this, I understand the extreme stress that goes along with being very, very, very poor. I've known that stress. But like post-mushroom trip, I've also known like the very, very, very queer feeling of having your entire mind just being fucking poisoned by like very crazy, like mental illness related stuff. Both of them suck, but they're not at all comparable. Like when you've experienced mental illness, you're opening up, it's kind of like a whole new dimension of like thought in like another plane that is just so fucking horrible and agonizing to experience in a more holistic way than just feeling upset about a particular thing. Like being upset about a particular thing and being able to peg that emotion to a particular event in your life that you're upset about is so much more different than having your entire mind shifted into this horrible fucking disgusting area. So yes, I am comparing the I know that for some people you think that like depression is just like a middle class, like, oh, I'm bored and sad, blah, 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 blah. And you can think that if you want, you've never experienced it, but it's an incredibly stupid way to write off that entire like train of thought. And it's also really toxic because a lot of people don't understand like where suicidality comes from and shit. Like for instance, if you ask most people like, oh, well, who commits suicide the most? Like, oh, obviously it's fucking teenagers. Teenagers are depressed all the time, blah, blah, blah. It's not. It's actually like middle-aged to older-aged white guys are the people that kill themselves the most. It's because they get lonely and bored and they have nothing to do in their lives and they fucking off themselves. That's like the highest group that's at risk for suicide. There's a lot of like misconceptions about like mental illness or what makes people sad or what mental illness is like or blah, 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 blah. Like, fuck. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying, but yeah, no, yeah, that's true. I didn't know some of the words that you said there because you say a lot of fancy words, but for the most part, yeah. I've I think in my life I never got diagnosed because I was afraid to. And I'm not even sure if like my knowledge on mental illness and that sort of thing is as far as much as I like have experienced myself, but I'm pretty sure I had depression, but it was only circumstantial, which I think that still qualifies it as depression. Yeah, it's just like
Sure. I think to be clear, real quick, the words of like whether or not something is depression or isn't, blah, blah, blah. The only reason why we have these things is to just help us understand what it is we're feeling at the time. Like, even if it's not quote unquote like depression or clinical depression, that doesn't discount the experience you've had. And it doesn't make it like less than or not as like important as or whatever. That's something always important. Don't ever feel like whether or not something was or wasn't like clinical depression doesn't give somebody the right to say, like, oh, well, you didn't have that experience or this isn't blah, blah, blah. Right? It's just important to, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that, but like I've had it where like I've said I've had depression in the past and someone has been like, well, that's not my experience with depression, so therefore that's not depression, which is like a super egotistical
don't gatekeep. That's
someone's experience. Yeah, it's
everybody. People experience like different things in different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. But no. And even at a certain point, I was homeless and very, I guess, for me at least, the impeding doom of like being homeless for like me myself. Like I couldn't focus on, but okay, so when I had depression, I was super tired, couldn't focus on anything. I was like, yeah, all I could focus on was like my feelings and like sleeping and eating and just it was, yeah, you can't do anything. You're basically a potato and you don't choose it. But with being homeless, it was like I couldn't focus on the things that I loved. So it was similar, but I worked so like I would it was like something like a survival mode that kicked in, where I would just like work. Like I remember I'd like take extra shifts even though I couldn't fit in doing my homework, and then my grades went down so much because I couldn't study, and I had to focus on helping out with like bills and but yeah, no, it's all in all, it's people get so I hate people discrediting other people's experiences just because they haven't been through it or it wasn't their experience with it.
Yeah.
It's and it's not a competition, it's not a whatever, but yeah. Kind of, yeah, I wish we had all the answers in life.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.
Wait, is Bloodborne music really this shit? I don't remember this garbage. Oh my god, this just sounds like one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my life. Oh my god, what a horrible, what genre of, where did this come from?
Wacky developers, dude.